Good evening. It is 5:30, so we're going to call the Board of Health meeting to order. Remind you to turn your cell phone to silent or vibrate. Then let's please all stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amanda, would you please take the roll?
Councilmember Dalby.
Here.
Councilmember Myers.
Here.
Councilmember Rowe.
Here.
Councilmember Stevens.
Here.
Councilmember Strebe.
Here.
Mayor Lazio.
Here. I'm going to ask the council's indulgence tonight. We have a group of students from Liberty School, the first Lego League, and Brianna, where'd you go? Brianna Hinman is their teacher, and they're going to do an informational presentation before we get into the meeting itself. So if you want to come up and tell us what the students are going to do, and we'll give you the floor to get started. While they're getting in place, you may recall that a couple of years ago, we had a group from the same school do a program on recycling, and these are the water warriors. So
I just want to make sure we're all up here. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing us to come tonight. These are the Water Warriors, team number 363. So I am a kindergarten through fifth grade talented and gifted teacher with the Ottumwa School District. I teach at Liberty and Dalma. And I also, in addition to being a teacher for the district, I have a privilege of being a coach. I'm a tennis coach, but I also coach these students. There are 10 fourth and fifth grade talented and gifted students from around the district. We have all of the elementaries represented by these 10 students. And if you see, we have 8 today. We're missing 2. So we have Eisenhower. We have 3 students from Eisenhower. We have 2 students from Wilson, 1 from James, 1 from Horace Mann, and 3 from Liberty. So what First Lego League is it was created in 1998 by 2 organizations. So First and Lego Education, which is why it's called First Lego League, or FLL. And so it's a STEM competition. And so their regional competition is on Saturday, December 2nd, here in Ottumwa at Indian Hills Community College. And so they're going to be competing against 4th through 8th grade students. So that's what the First Lego League is for, kids 9 through 14. And so all of these kids are 4th and 5th grade students from around the district. And so this year's theme, there's a theme every year. This year's theme is hydrodynamics. So they're studying about water. And in relation to that, it's about the human water cycle. So how do we use, find, transport, or dispose of water? And so these students had to choose a topic related to water and related to one of those 4 things within the human water cycle that they wanted to focus on. And they found a problem. And so they decided to focus on bottled water in specific. And then they came up with a solution. So they kind of want to talk to you tonight about the 4 parts of competition. And I'm going to stop speaking so you can hear all of them speak. So I will let them introduce themselves first. So if you guys want to come up here and say your name, what grade you're in, and what school you go to.
Hi, I'm Carlos, and I go to Wilson Elementary, and I'm in 5th.
I'm Talise Plate. I'm in 5th grade, and I go to Horseman Elementary.
Hi, I'm Brandon Heminger, and I am in 5th grade, and I go to Liberty Elementary.
Hi, I'm Maya Bishop, and I'm in 4th grade, and I go to James Elementary.
Hi, I'm Jaydev Kurmadas. I go to Liberty Elementary, and I'm in 4th grade.
Hi, I'm Venny Kotev. I'm 4th grade, and I go to Eisenhower Elementary.
Hi, I'm Camden Cross. I go to Eisenhower Elementary, and I'm in 5th grade.
Hi, I'm Isabel Fisher, and I go to Wilson Elementary, and I'm in 5th grade.
And then the 2 students that we're missing tonight are Kate Pagoric, 5th grader from Eisenhower, and Lydia Schmidt, 4th grader from Liberty Elementary. So those make up our team. So I'm going to let Jaydev speak with you guys about why they wanted to present to you tonight.
We wanted to present to you tonight about bottled water and the brands. We tested bottled water using test strips. So Dasani turned out to be the worst bottled water brand, and Ice Mountain was the best bottled water brand. We also want to talk to you because we want to inform our town about bottled water and how it is just as regulated as tap water, and sometimes with extra filtration and sometimes not. We emailed senators like Senator Ken Rosenboom, we emailed Senator David Johnson, and we emailed one more senator. We also want to talk to you about which bottled water brand is the safest and which is the worst.
Talise is going to talk to you guys about what Lego League is.
Lego League has 3 parts: core values, robot/technical, and project. There are core values in FLL. We are a team. We do the work to find solutions with guidance from our coaches and mentors. We know our coaches and mentors don't have all the answers. We learn together. We honor the spirit of friendly competition. What we discover is more important than what we win. We share our experiences with others. We display gracious professionalism and cooperation in everything we do, and we have fun. Technical is where you show off your robot and try to get the most points. Project is where you talk about your solution and show it off.
And Carlos is going to talk with you guys about your robot, or the robot that they created.
Our robot has 2 sensors, 3 large motors, and 1 medium motor. The medium motor is and a marble has a back wheel. The marble has a back wheel is so it could turn into any direction, and it could go 360. The large motor in the top is for picking up missions and putting them in the spot. The 2 bottom motors are for the wheels, so it could go. The touch sensor, the medium motor, is so it could lift things up and put it where it's supposed to go. Our sensors is so we could activate the robot to go. And there are several types of missions, and we chose this design because we think it will work better with all the missions, and it turned out it did.
So they want to talk to you next about, they have a little bit more intricate detail about their robot. So would it work to just come up to you guys and talk to you? Is that okay? Okay.
Certainly. Three of them? Okay. You work together on this as a team. That is neat. Gotta be kidding. I wish I had that when I was a kid. Look at that. Yeah. Oh.
So that's a robot. We named him Poseidon because Poseidon is the Greek god of the sea, and this year's theme is hydrodynamics, who God was sort of in.
Nice job.
My name is Josie. I'm part of the team. I'm a bachelor for the team. I'm a high school freshman, so I'm filling in for the team. So this team decided to program in partners in case something went wrong. Two people would try to debug it. We also programmed in partners in case one of us or one of them was absent at competition or in practice. The other partner could run and set up the robot for them. Kate, its partner, is Talise. Brandon and Benny are partners.
Carlos and Jayadev are partners. Camden and Lydia, who is also absent today, are partners. And Maya and Isabel are partners.
And I'll read Lydia's part. So she's talking about which missions the team chose to complete, because there's about 15 missions. And so the kids have 2.5 minutes to complete as many missions as possible. So all of the 26 teams, and actually First Lego League is a worldwide competition. So when they compete at regionals, it's the strategy. So how many points are you going to get, and which missions are going to get you the most amount of points. So it's based up to the team, because there's some missions where they push, some missions where they bring back to base and so on. And I know it's kind of hard for you guys to understand because we don't have the table here, but we have a 4x8 foot table in our classroom that has all the missions. So everyone has the same mat. So for this team, they looked at the missions that were easy to do first. So all of them this year are new except for Camden. This is Camden's second year. And so they looked at the missions that gave them a lot of points and wouldn't take a lot of time to do. The easier missions gave them a chance to get used to programming. And then once the easier missions were done, then they did the harder missions to get more points.
The mission programming sheets are where we record what steps we use to get the robot from base to the mission and back to base. The sheets also kept track on where we were on our mission in case our computer lost our work. We use planning sheets from an FLL team in Maryland called TechBrick. They showed gracious professionalism by letting us use their sheets.
We use two different sensors, a touch sensor and a color sensor, both to start missions. To do this, for the color sensor, you flash a color at it. For the touch sensor, you gently press it not to shake its path.
We decided to use medium-sized wheels. One wheel rotation for our robot is 7 inches. We measured the rotations by setting up this white mark at the zero of the roller, then moving it till this mark was pointing down again, and we figured it out that it was 7 inches.
We created attachments so we could put them on our robots to help with our different missions. We created them if we had issues lining them up or pushing missions. We have a push attachment to help with missions like pump addition and filter. We have transport missions to help with our missions like tripod and water well. And this is one of the attachments we made to help line up and get in the right spot for our robot.
One of our favorite missions was the tripod mission. We liked it because we could use the same attachment for the pipe removal and water well. We also liked the foster mission because it was challenging.
If we would have had more time, we would have done more missions on the table and improved our old ones. We would do this to get more points on the table.
Okay. So who's going to tell us about the skit?
So the next thing, that we have is the skit presentation. So Maya wants to talk to you guys about this slide, and Jayadev as well.
We choose to do a skit instead of a boring presentation, and we had a superhero and a villain in the skit. Other reasons why we chose to do the skit was because it was easy to explain our problem and solution, and we can make it exciting. The reason we have the skit with one of our mentors and our coach is because we have 2 kids gone.
We also chose to do the skit because it was exciting and fun.
For our problem, it was bottled water is sometimes regulated less than tap water, and there are sometimes high levels of contaminants in them, which are harmful to your body and brain. For our solution, we made the BBW, the Better Bottled Water app. If it says you're good, it means there are no levels of contaminants. If it says watch out, it means there are high levels of contaminants. This is our website, and this is the front page. And if you go on Google, you search Better Bottled Water, and this comes up and at the top it shows what you can search to find it.
So for their solution, they have a prototype that Talise has, the BBW that they made out of Legos, but then as she's coming around, she's showing you their app. You can actually download this app on your phone, so it's really pretty cool that 4th and 5th grade students have made an app. They just have to add data into it right now, so they pretty much have a fully functional app. So that is their solution. So they have a 4 to 5 minute skit that they're going to share at competition that they want to share with you next. Can we speak really loud back here? Speak really loud, really loud.
Hi, we are the Water Warriors Team 363. We hope you enjoy our presentation.
Our team decided to focus on unsafe, high levels of chemical contaminants in bottled water for a hydrodynamics problem. These chemicals are harmful for your organs, brain, and other parts of your body.
Did you know that about 1/3 of bottled water brands contain high level of chemical contaminants in their water?
No, I didn't.
Did you know that 18% of bottled water brands do not tell you where their water comes from?
I felt weird ever since drinking this water. I wonder what's wrong with it.
Mwahaha. It is I, Dr. Pollution. Did you hear that, Mr. Impurity? We have succeeded in making bottled water polluted.
Yes. Who will help me with this problem? I love bottled water.
Dun, dun, dun! It is I, the Water Warrior, to the rescue. Excuse me, I'm the chemical conqueror, and we will help you.
Wow, that's a lot of chemicals. Chemicals? What kind?
Well, this brand of bottled water has high levels of chemicals such as pH, lead, bacteria, fluoride, barium, arsenic, silver, uranium, and nitrates. Here we are, alive on the scene of a catastrophe. Water bottles have been polluted with high levels of contaminants.
My name is Dr. Pollution and Mr. Impurity.
How will the Water Warrior and the Chemical Conqueror stop this madness?
Oh, look, the police are here.
Did someone call about polluted bottled water?
Yes, I did. My bottled water has a lot of bad chemicals that could harm someone.
What information can you tell me about your bottled water?
Did you know that 40% of bottled water is just tap water? And sometimes the water is extra treatment, but sometimes not.
Ha! You can't stop us!
Did you know that an average American drinks 30 gallons of bottled water a year? Think of what those chemicals could be doing to your body and brain if it was all polluted.
And I have Mr. Impurity.
Okay, yeah. Did you know that every day in the U.S. 1,000 people buy and open a plastic bottle of commercially produced water?
Americans alone spend over $7 billion on bottled water a year.
Wow, that's a crazy fact.
Any more?
Of course. Of course, tap water is regulated by the EPA, and bottled water is regulated by the FDA. Bottled water companies are not required to tell the public about their water quality findings according to loopholes in federal laws.
I have the bottle. The BBW has deemed this water bottle unsafe to drink, as too many high levels of chemical contaminants.
Wow, what is the BBW?
The BBW, or Better Bottled Water, is an app designed to tell you if your water is safe enough to drink or not. It can be used on both Apple and Android devices.
What do you do once you find out if your water is safe to drink or not?
Well, first you need to download the app. First you need to download the app, then scan the barcode of the bottled water. If the product is unsafe to drink, the app will say, "Watch out." If the product is safe to drink, the app will say, "You're good." You will also get constant updates from the app of different brands of water. A group of people will run this app and be in charge of entering the data.
How much does the BBW cost?
The BBW is free, so anybody can have easy access to the app.
What do you do once you find out if your water is safe to drink or not?
Well, if your water is considered unsafe, you will know not to purchase that company's water anymore, making their sales go down and making them produce quality water.
Who else knows about your solution?
We contacted Senator Ken Rosenblum, Senator Rita Hart, and Senator David Johnson.
We talked to Bob Emery from Dr. Pepper's Snapple Group and the Isaac Walton League.
Cam Leaves from the Water Pollution Control Facility.
We visited Tim Allert from the Ottumwa Water Works.
The Iowa Water Center at Iowa State University.
Ann Lyman from the Iowa DNR, the KYU 1215, and the City Council.
The county owned by Coca-Cola, American Bottled Water Company, and Aquafina owned by Pepsi.
In total, we use 7 different types of resources such as books, magazines, experts, articles, newspapers, websites, and videos to help us find more information about bottled water.
Check out our website and blogging site for more information.
You can find our app by searching online the Better Bottled Water, and it'll be on the second page and it'll come up.
Thank you for listening. We hope you feel more informed about safe bottled water.
How about giving them a hand? Well, you won't need any luck after that presentation. You should win the competition on December 2nd. So thank you very much for sharing. And Dwight, I think we have some future engineers and scientists here. So thank you for bringing your students and continue to challenge them. And I'm amazed at what they're doing at this level. It's just great.
Thank you. We know your time is precious, so I really appreciate it. And JEDEV has some business cards that they want to give to you guys, so you can have our website later to go on. So thank you very much. We appreciate your help.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, let's go back to the agenda, and I'll need approval for tonight's meeting.
So moved. Second.
Okay.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Approve the minutes for meeting number 7 on November 7th, 2017 is presented. Recommendation, approve the minutes.
Is there a motion?
So move. Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set to consider condemnation of the structures on the lot located at 712 West 2nd Street. I received one objection on this item.
Okay, Jody, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. This property at 712 West 2nd was placarded July 8th, 2016 due to dilapidation. And they're scrolling through pictures that were taken November 15th of the interior and the exterior of the property. The health department first received a complaint about the exterior condition of this house in 2014. One of our retired building inspectors had handled that complaint and had attempted to work with the owner and her relatives to resolve the complaint. On October 27, 2016, a repair plan was submitted by John Kemp Jr. to repair the parts of the house that are deteriorated, but little had been completed. And after 3 years of little or no activity, staff recommends condemnation. And I believe that the owner of the house, Cindy Scarlett, is here this evening, as well as John Kemp Jr.
This is a public hearing, so if you want to address the council, now it's time to step up. Charlene Baxter.
There are a lot of placard houses that belong to less privileged, disabled, and elderly people. Some belong to the more privileged and capable people. Nobody is properly informed of the various helpful resources that, and sometimes there's very vague directions on the letters that received. Some of the less privileged, disabled, and elderly people don't have family. Some don't have family close to help. Some of them have mental challenges where they're even scared to open the letter or tell anybody about receiving it. Our mother is a 59-year-old disabled woman with brain damage. She would be the type of person that would be scared to open the letters, or sometimes they could get lost. My younger brother helps take care of her. He has mental challenges comparable to autism. It's a higher functioning form of autism, but it's comparable to. So he isn't capable of some things like driving and fixing certain things, which generally leaves me and my older brother to take care of just about everything else. We have also had a lot of crisis going on in the family. My brother's house burnt some time ago, and we've been trying to deal with that. Our father's been in and out of the hospital, had emergency surgery. We've been taking care of him and dealing with all of the trips to the hospital and all of that. We've just been dealing with a lot of stuff outside of this one issue. We have been working on the list that was originally provided to us from the health department. We've scraped and painted outside the house. We've fixed and painted the front porch. We've fixed the front balcony. We've fixed the back porch. We've accomplished a lot of the things that were on that original list, and we're still continuing to fix all the other stuff, we're still continuing to work on it all. Another inspection was done the other day, I think maybe the end of last week. They didn't give us a list, so we just got that list picked up yesterday, and we had submitted a repair plan for that today. It's not going to collapse. It's not going to start fire. There's no structural issues. It's not too bad to warrant a tear down. We believe it's good enough to be fixed up, and we will get it fixed. We're just asking for more time to fix the issues.
And we have pictures.
We do have pictures of the progress that we have made. We noticed that you didn't have those or didn't take any of those, so we brought pictures of the progress made if you want to take them. We're just asking for more time to fix.
You're asking for more time? Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone else that wants to address the council on this particular issue?
I'm John Kemp Jr., and I've been personally seeing to the repairs on this property. There are some issues that need taken care of, and they will get fixed. Just need more time. I've completed, for the most part, the first list they gave us, and then we got a second list. Like she said, Charlene Baxter said, I went to City Hall here to the health department and got the list, and it's the second list that we've got, and we have repaired, and the second list even has things that are on the first list that I've already rectified. And also, wow, where'd my list go? Oh, it's over there. I submitted a building repair plan. If you want a copy, I have one. On the new repair plan, there is 26 items, and out of those 26 items, 8 of them are already done. And there is 18 more to go. And I believe that with a little bit more time, these can be all fixed. No problem. I've been working with other contractors on other properties around the city, and my knowledge of fixing these things are extensive. We just beg for more time to fix the problem.
Okay, thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else on this particular property? Okay, then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Condemn the structures located at 712 West 2nd Street, order prompt demolition, removal, and leveling of the lot, and direct all costs attendant to such actions, including administrative costs, to be assessed against property and/or collected from the owner or owners thereof. Recommendation, approve the condemnation of the structures located at 712 West 2nd Street.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions for Jody?
I got one, Your Honor.
Go ahead, Matt.
Jody, is this a rental property or is it a primary residence?
No, it's an owner-occupied property. At least the main floor is. I don't know if the second floor had been a rental in years past or not.
Yes, I have a question.
Councilman Myers?
Yeah, Jody, and I didn't have a chance to ask you, but I did ask the city attorney a little earlier or prior to the meeting, but a little later tonight, we need to act on an item, which is a house that is going to be at taxpayer expense, having to remove the cost is $24,000 just for the asbestos removal. And my question, or as I talked with her, was like, how do we catch properties that are in this state of disrepair in time so that we then don't later get caught as a city or taxpayers having to make up that kind of expense?
Well, this particular property was inspected as a result of a complaint. And since it was owner occupied, it did not receive regular rental inspections to the best of my knowledge. And we do not regularly inspect owner occupied properties. We do it upon complaint. Generally, when we start getting those complaints, it's because the property is in a pretty dire condition.
Okay, so would it follow then, like this was, the first one I think was July of 2016. So every month, every year that continues, it just deteriorates that much more.
Yes, it does. And originally, I think the complaints that we received about it were in 2014.
Okay.
And, you know, we had worked with the owners trying to see if maybe they couldn't do those repairs so that we wouldn't end up here at the Board of Health.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Matt?
I'm sorry, go ahead, Matt.
No, you're next.
Go ahead, Skip.
The folks that live there or want to live there, where are they at now? They're surely not in this home, are they?
I don't believe so. They're not supposed to be living in a placarded house. But I don't know where they are living.
Jody, I got one more follow-up question there. I know exactly, the health department tries to give every option and chance available so folks can make better their properties when they get to this condition. In your judgment, the gentleman said that he had fixed 8 out of the 20 some repairs that he had there, 27 or 8. Were those done quickly recently, or were those done, over time? I mean, have they shown that they're working toward that? Or, I mean, the house to me itself looks like it's past the point of salvage, but has there been a good faith effort there, or has it just been really slow walked on this one?
There hasn't been a lot of progress on the repairs to date. I don't know if in fact he's fixed 8 out of 8 of those. He states he did, but a lot of those items are still listed on that deficiency list, the updated deficiency list. And just let me remind you that when a property is placarded and we've not been on the inside of the property, we're placarding it strictly from the dilapidation and what's happened on the outside of it. We have to get into the property, and we have made requests to get into the property so that we can do a complete deficiency list, and that way they know exactly what they need to take care of as far as repairing. And last week, the inspector was finally able to get into the property and do a complete inspection, which is why they ended up with a second list.
Thank you.
Matt or Mark?
So assuming the 8 repairs, which it looked like most of them were exterior repairs by the photos, given what you know now about the interior of the home, would those exterior repairs justify more time, or is it just flatly past the point of no return at this juncture?
I think it's up to the Board of Health whether you want to give them more time. I think most any property can be repaired if you put enough money and time into it.
All right, let me ask that in a different way.
Okay.
And maybe this is just a regurgitation of what Councilman Dalby just asked. Has the owners up to this point, given the fact that this has been since 2014, have they shown along the way that they have a vested interest in getting this thing rehabilitated back into a livable status? Or is this something that's just recently started to happen because they knew they were on the cusp of condemnation?
That would be my assessment of the situation, that we really didn't get a lot of progress until they knew that the property was coming to the Board of Health.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, let's take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Thank you.
This is the time, place, and date set to consider condemnation of the structures on the lot located at 1346 North Elm. I received 2 objections on this item.
Okay, Jody, you have the floor again.
Thank you. This property was placarded April 20th of this year due to dilapidation. And although the owner is listed as Chensia Roberts, John Condor and the owner claimed that the house was sold on contract some years ago, but the contract was never recorded or fulfilled. It's been 5 years since anyone's lived in the house, and a recent inspection revealed the house was filled with garbage. There are some foundation issues, rotted fascia, among other deficiencies, as you can see. The owner has not made any repairs or submitted a repair plan to fix the property, and neither has Mr. Condor. Mr. Condor requested a hearing with the Inspection Board of Review to contest the placarding of the property, and he asked that the city wait until 2018 for any repairs to occur. The Inspection Board of Review asked staff to take a look and do an interior inspection to see if it was in good enough condition to warrant waiting until 2018 on the repairs. And the board also felt, some board members also felt that they weren't sure that Mr. Condor had a legal right to make a request since there was no recorded contract on the property. Staff, building inspector, city attorney Joni Keith, and I made an inspection of the house with Mr. Condor, and we assessed that the condition of the house was in poor enough shape that we did not feel that we could wait until 2018 for repairs to be made to the house or for the ownership of the property to be resolved.
This is a public hearing. If there's anyone that wants to address this item, now is the time to step to the microphone.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Would you give us your name and address, please?
My name is John Conder, and I live at 206 Hidrick, Iowa. Thank you. Okay, I'm here in regards to 1346 North Elm. I have as Jody knows, because she has a copy of the contract with Chintzia Roberts, and I've been trying to get the house into my name, okay, for a period of time. I've replaced the roof. I put a brand new roof on it. $16,800 is what I just spent on the roof alone. Okay, I put that on in like 2014. I have the side dug out, the house on jacks to repair the foundation, but I cannot continue to sink. I have $33,000 invested in a house that's not in my name. I cannot continue to sink my company's money into this house without getting it in my name, and I've tried to get more time. I will pursue and accomplish the transfer of the title with my attorney and force her hand because she has received money from me. She just will not work with me like that, so I have to go to the next level. This house, I have a plan of putting $50,000 into this home. I may live in this home. This home is not a rental property. And right now, as it goes, I complete my projects. I've owned a construction company here for 30 years. I've been a landlord for since 1991. Some of my rental properties rent for $1,000 a month. And so if you take this and tear it down because it's not in my name, the city will get the repercussion of the cost. I can guarantee you that the person that this property's name is in won't pay you. So if you give me the time to do this, I have a bad arm. I was in a car wreck. I have a bad arm. I'm not looking for your sympathy. I have a meeting with Dr. Edmondson for surgery. I haven't submitted any kind of commitment because I don't know when my surgery will be. I won't be able to work for a period of time. Okay, but if you give me this project, I will complete it. That's all I can say.
Okay, thank you very much.
And if you need to see anything, or I got a plan here, I threw it together today. Transfer the property into Steinway and Connor Incorporated's name, complete clean house interior, meaning this year I will get everything out of the house. That is not my trash in that house. That house wasn't lived in by me. Okay? And then in the spring of the year, scrape and prime the outside of the house and prep it for a different siding. And then jack the house up, repair the foundation so that Jody will pass the inspection, place siding on the exterior, and remodel the interior. I figure I can make the house valued at $125,000. Now that's my plan. What you do with that is up to you. Thank you for listening. God bless.
Okay. Is there anyone else who wants to address that particular property? If not, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Condemn the structures located at 1346 North Elm. Order prompt demolition, removal, and leveling of the lot, and direct all costs attendant to such actions, including administrative costs, to be assessed against property taxes and/or collected from the owner or owners thereof. Recommendation: approve the condemnation of the structures located at 1346 North Elm.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Any questions for Jody or
Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Thank you.
This is the time, place, and date set to consider condemnation of the structures on the lot located at 321 North Washington, also known as 209 West 6th Street. I've received no objections on this item.
Okay, Jody, go ahead.
These two properties were placarded July 10th of this year and August 17th due to fires. Prior to that, there were a number of apartments in the main building that had been placarded for various reasons. While placarded people would squat in the buildings despite numerous attempts, there would be people who camped out in the placarded apartments. And the owner tried to secure the building against entry, but he couldn't keep them all out. The owner has a small amount of insurance on the property, and that will help pay for the demolition. City staff feels the buildings they're dangerous. They continue to be broken into, and the close quarters up in that neighborhood makes us feel that, we should go ahead and request you condemn these so that we can move them on toward demolition.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone that's going to address this particular property? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Condemn the structures located at 321 North Washington, also known as 209 West 6th Street. Order prompt demolition, removal, and leveling of the lot, and direct all costs attendant to such actions, including administrative costs, to be assessed against property taxes and/or collected from the owner or owners thereof. Recommendation: approve the condemnation of the structures located at 321 North Washington, also known as 209 West 6th Street.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Any questions for Jody?
I have one, Your Honor.
Councilman, go ahead.
Is this the house, correct me if I'm wrong, that kept catching on fire and has the metal roof that made it really hard to battle those fires on Washington Street?
It is on Washington Street. I'm not sure about the metal roof issue, but this one caught on fire numerous times.
Okay, I think we're thinking of the same house. Thank you.
Any other questions or
I have a
comments?
question. This is the brick home there on the corner of the 6th Street or whatever.
Yes,
The home behind it also caught on fire.
yes, it did.
And does this include that home as well?
Yes, it does. That's the 209 West 6th Street address.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Thank you.
Is there any other business come before the Board of Health? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
6:18. Thank you. At this time, I would reconvene the meeting and we'll go into the regular city council meeting. Let's do a roll call first.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Here.
Mayor Lazio?
Here.
Items on the consent agenda. Minutes from regular meeting number 38 on November 7th, 2017 is presented. Acknowledge October financial statement and payment of bills as submitted by the Finance Department. Civil Service Water Pollution Control Facility Lab Technician Entrance Eligibility List of November 13th, 2017. Appointment of Kevin Flanagan to the position of Director of Health, Inspections, Solid Waste, and Planning for the City of Ottumwa effective December 11th, 2017. Appointment of Cameron Depending effective December 1st, 2017. Mandy Martell effective December 2nd, 2017. Randy Daniels effective December 3rd, 2017. And Ethan Herron effective December 4th, 2017. An authorized payment for training costs, the amount of $8,155 for peace officer certification training for each appointee. Authorized Kirkham Michael Consulting Firm to update the airport layout plan at the Ottumwa Regional Airport. Approved payment to McClure and Company Concrete for the 2017 RFP number 6 Utility access adjustments. Number 2, for the adjustments of several utility accesses on our HMA overlay streets for 17 locations within the city of Ottumwa. Resolution number 226, 2017, setting the public hearing on the council's intent to lease city-owned ground on Emma Street to Ottumwa Saddle Club. Resolution number 243, 2017, authorizing reimbursement of expenses in the amount of $34,076 incurred by the city for payment under Iowa Code Section 403.19. Resolution number 244, 2017, setting the public hearing on the disposition of city-owned property located at 1021 South Madison. Resolution number 247, 2017, setting the public hearing on the proposed sale of 343 East Park Avenue, Ottumwa, Iowa. Resolution number 250, 2017, establishing an ad hoc finance advisory committee. Beer and/or liquor applications for La Cabana y Familia, 707 Church Street with outdoor service area. The Doghouse Tavern, 714 Vine Street with outdoor service area. Tequila Grill, 112 North Market Street, all applications pending final inspections.
Move the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any item you have any questions about, or can we take
I have
the roll?
one, Your Honor.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm not sure if this question should go to Administrator Morris or Chief McAndrew. These 4 folks here that we're authorizing for the peace officer certification training, if and when these folks complete this and get through the program, what will that put our authorized force at as far as actual feet on the street?
We should have about 38 by the time these guys get out of the academy and get through the PTO program in July, August. Keep in mind, I always have 1 or 2 that are off work for some kind of injury.
Sure.
So we hope to be at 38, and then we'll be advertising again for the next 4 to get us up to our 42.
And when do you anticipate starting that advertising, if you don't mind?
Very soon. We have to exhaust our list. We have a couple that are on the fence right now. We're not in a big hurry just because these 4 are going to go to the academy in January. They have 2 academies. We're going to put 2 in each. And then the next one after that will be in April. So we're going to go through the people one more time, see if there's anyone else that we want off the list. And if we don't, we'll exhaust the list and start all over.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Skip?
I have a question on item B for Kevin Flanagan to the position of Director of Health and so forth. It states in there that his salary will be step 1 in the salary schedule. I believe this to be top step.
Joni, would you respond to that?
It's my understanding that will be the bottom step, and he would be subject to step increases.
That's not correct. It is top step. I checked it today. Bottom step is $73,000 or $74,000. Step 1.
Mr. Mayor, just merely a suggestion then, do you want to table this at this time? We bring it back at the next regularly scheduled council meeting?
I just felt there needed to be a correction made.
Well, I think the council could go ahead and make the hire and let Human Resources check the schedule and the stepping, and we can bring you that up to date on.
The initial range included that 90 on our advertisement, but 90 wasn't going to be the top. It was going to depend on the experience level of the individual that we hired. So that was a range. It wasn't a bottom step versus, I think that's what you're confusing, that was a bottom step, but it's not. It's, we would be hiring within that range.
But if we have a salary schedule established and we just arbitrarily, and I'm not opposed to Kevin, don't get me wrong, and we arbitrarily just pick a figure that we want to hire somebody at, I think we're getting out of kilter. I think we need to follow our steps. And I'm not saying hire him at step 1. What I'm saying is follow what we have in our bylaws, so to speak. We just can't arbitrarily, if somebody in Public Works has had a lot of experience on a machine of some sort, you hire an equipment operator, you hire them at the established steps. You don't pick out a number above that and hire them at that.
Well, you do salary comparisons and determine what the salary range should be for that position. And currently, the salary schedule for that position is higher than that.
What salary schedule?
The salary schedule that the city goes by on for management positions. But we can discuss this later if you want to table this issue, and I can sit down with you and explain what we're doing.
Yeah, I think it needs some clarification.
Well, we can, I think, the issue is the posting was 80 to 100,000 and we hired him at that level. So either we voted up or we voted down. If there's a concern about the stepping, you can visit with an individual council after the meeting or at his convenience.
Like I say, I'm not opposed, and I realize Kevin's got some experience in a number of things, and I understand all that. But what I'm saying is, we just don't pick out a number and say we're going to hire between this level and this level when we already have it established as this is what the city of Ottumwa pays. We need to change our schedule if we're going to do that.
Mayor, I would offer, if an amendment is required, I would offer that we do hire Mr. Flanagan at this time, and then the step aspect of it be worked out and reported back to council, if that's appropriate.
Your Honor, if I may, and this is more in lines of defense of Mr. Flanagan, I would be hesitant to accept a job where I wasn't exactly sure what the salary was going to be.
Well, I would too. And he could have been told anything that's within our, I'm not saying it should be within our salary schedule. I'm saying there needs to be some clarification as how we're going to do this. Because every time a job comes up, it depends on what the other people are paying is what we're going to pay, but that's not what our books say.
Okay, so I think we're at a point where either you accept the consent agenda as presented or we pull that off. Yeah, and I would withdraw my amendment. I didn't get a second on it anyway, and I would just call for the question as you're stating that. Okay, motion is to accept the consent agenda as presented. There is a motion and a second. Would you?
If you vote no on one item on the consent agenda, you're voting the entire consent agenda down. Just a side note. So if an amendment is needed for one item, then we might want to do that.
But the council could go ahead and vote on the consent agenda as presented, and we'll see where it falls.
Okay.
Okay, let's take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We'll still get some clarification after the meeting. Okay. Item C is the approval of tonight's agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you. Item D, I'd like to call on City Administrator Morris and have him give us an update. We've already taken care of item 1.
Very well. Thank you, Mayor. The second item you see listed is the Iowa League of Cities meeting, an evening with legislators, as you will note on the time that's indicated here, actually the date, November 29th. That meeting starts, my notes say, Mayor, that meeting starts at 5 p.m., runs plus or minus to 8 p.m., and the mayor can add some additional commentary as to what will constitute that, is my understanding. There will not be a specific speaker or speakers at this. There's just roundtables that will discuss various legislative issues of import at the time. The next item you see, please correct me, Mayor, if I've stated that incorrectly. The next item you see, solar panels feasibility study, is I've shared with council what I wanted to put together, and we did complete, was a request for proposals on solar panels, a feasibility study. And that's something I worked very closely with Scott Holgren at Bridgeview. He and I have put together a couple of different entities that would bid on that. That actually went out today. That was sent out via email. I believe we sent that to 8 potential bidders. Again, that's for a feasibility study for solar panels at Bridgeview, both roof mounts and ground mounts. The home-based Iowa program, as you well know, and Connie Hammersley Wilson's played a lead role in that. That program continues to move forward. It is my understanding then that there will be a meeting on the 7th of December.
It should be if the governor, we will be inviting the governor. The application has been submitted. We have to wait for approval. It has to be sent to home-based Iowa with all the boxes checked. So now they just go and review that. If that is approved, December 7th, we will plan at Bridgeview from 3:30 to 5 p.m. That is the duration agenda was sent to you that is sent to the governor's office. And so once all of that is approved, then we'll move forward. December 7th is our date that we have planned for the event.
Okay, very well. Mayor, the next item you see listed, one is the Streetscape Master Plan. Actually, that was last week that Brad Little from the Legacy Foundation asked that I list that as an agenda item. I believe that's going to include some of the elements of both the Public Works Department and some of the staff at Legacy. Again, that will be, that presentation will take place at our next meeting on December 5th. Okay. Primary elections, you may recall at the previous council meeting we had, there was discussion. Amanda put together a very good memo regarding the merits and demerits, let's just say, of migrating to primary elections. At that meeting, council did not table or postpone that. They said they wanted to have additional discussion. I would hope that we at some point schedule maybe more than one public meeting to discuss that. It is something from a staff perspective we still support. If you're looking at 2 elections every other year, you're talking about a cost of approximately $24,000. But again, it's a legislative decision, and we want to make sure that we get as much input as possible. So, Mayor, I'll leave that to you at a future date to establish meetings, plural, where we may discuss. Okay. The last item I would like to address, the Muni Code, as you may know, that actually is item I-1 on the agenda. As council members know, this past summer, the council members received rough drafts of the code from Muni Code, the update, and council members were asked to make corrections, augmentations to that document, and then that was turned back over to Muni Code. We've had samples. Those samples had to be turned back to the city clerk's office today. I won't go through the minutia of it because that'll come up during the discussion again under that agenda item. But it is important that council adopt it at this time. It's a legislative decision. Staff is going to recommend whether or not you want to waive the additional 2 readings. But it is, we do need to have, quite frankly, a code of ordinances on the books. Staff is recommending at such time when we get to that item on the agenda that the council do so, but we will follow council's direction. Mayor, I don't have anything else unless you or council members have any questions or comments.
I do have one item for the December 5th meeting also. I'd like to have on the agenda a discussion with council about whether or not we want to sponsor the Fly Ottumwa event. I can give you a staff summary or have Andy work with me on that. We'll present you with some information about costs and expenses. But if we're going to make a decision, we need to do that because we're getting inquiries from pilots about whether or not we're going to have an event next year, and we need to get that date reserved and booked if we're going to do it. So come prepared to ask your questions, and we'll give you some information in the packet next meeting. Item E is an opportunity for anyone in the audience to address an item on the agenda. If there's anybody that wants to speak to the council, now's the time to do that. Seeing none, let's move on.
Bid report and contract award for demolition of 435 North Jefferson. Recommendation, award demolition contract to Environmental Edge in the amount of $23,000.
Good evening, Jody. You have the floor again.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The property at 435 North Jefferson burned, and it was condemned later by the Board of Health. The house was so badly burned that it was determined that the asbestos couldn't safely be removed prior to demolition. So we requested bids for the demolition of the property as asbestos contaminated. And we received 2 bids, the best one from Environmental Edge in the amount of $23,000. You can see what the second bid was, $74,000. That company, Earth Services, is a Des Moines company, and they've bid a couple times on our projects, and they've all been substantially higher. So we recommend that you award the demolition contract to Environmental Edge.
I'm going
Mayor,
to
I
need a
do-
motion.
Yeah, I do move that recommendation, and then I also have a question.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, Councilman Myers?
Okay. Jody, this is the one that I made reference to earlier. In the fact that it's very possible that the city is going to be responsible for paying that $23,000.
It's highly likely. There's no insurance on this property.
Okay. And then I asked you, again, I think I may have already anticipated the answer, but there's no way as we inspect and suggest demolition and all these other steps that you go through, there's no way that you can determine ahead of time whether it should be done immediately, because then it does not become a special asbestos removal type of thing. Is that?
Well, in this case, it was because it had been burned and the asbestos couldn't be safely removed. It was always going to be considered an asbestos contaminated project. In most of the cases where we have houses with asbestos, we can go in, remove the asbestos beforehand, and then treat the demolition debris just as uncontaminated. Okay. And normally that will save us some money.
All right, thank you. I missed that then. It's the contamination aspect of this asbestos that requires that amount of money. Okay.
It is.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Bid report and contract award for the asbestos removal and demolition of 1922 East Main Street. Recommendation, award the asbestos removal to New Horizons Enterprises in the amount of $8,530, and the demolition contract to Tim Skinner Trucking, amount of $4,695. Total contract award, $13,225.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Go ahead, Jody.
We accepted sealed bids until November 14th for this project. We received 4 bids and determined that the individual asbestos bid from New Horizons and the individual demolition bid from Tim Skinner constituted the best bid in this case. It was a little over $2,000 less than the next lowest bidder.
Any other questions for Jody? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you.
New fees for park shelters. Recommendation, approve the fee increase for park shelters.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Good evening, Gene. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The $50 damage deposit for the small park shelters did not work very well. Many people complained about the damage deposit, and some refused to pay it and walked out. The refunds created a large amount of unnecessary work for the beach and the city hall staff every Monday morning. When beach staff tried to keep the damage deposit due to shelters not being cleaned after the rental, the people that rented the shelter argued and said someone else must have made the mess after they left. The $50 deposit should be eliminated, and the $25 fee should be raised to $35 for the following shelters: Wildwood Shelters number 1, 2, and 3, Memorial Park Shelter and Cabin, Foster Park, Union Park, the Octagon Shelter, and Central Park. The $50 damage deposit will remain in place for the Sycamore Park and Jimmy Jones shelters, and this was approved by the Parks Advisory Board on November 14th, 2017.
Any questions for Gene? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you, Gene.
This is a time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the proposed 5-year lease agreement for the rental of approximately 200 acres of hay ground at the Ottumwa Regional Airport. I received no objections on this item.
Joni, are you going to take this?
Yes, Your Honor. The current hay ground lease at the Ottumwa Regional Airport for approximately 200 acres expires December 31, 2017. This hay ground is bid out routinely. The current bid packet calls for a 5-year lease to encourage the prospective farm tenant to improve the land through tiling and fertilizer application. Bids were accepted by the city clerk until 2 p.m. on November 15. Only the current farm tenant filed a bid. The highest responsible bidder is Calvin Van Genderen at $4,000 for each year of the agreement. I've attached a copy of the proposed lease agreement, and the resolution authorizes the mayor to sign the lease agreement on behalf of the city.
This is a public hearing. If there's anybody that wants to address this item, now's the time to step up. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Thank you.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 237, 2017, approving the 5-year lease agreement with Calvin Van Genderen for hay ground at the Ottumwa Regional Airport. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 237, 2017.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation is presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Mark?
Joni, how does that $4,000 a year lease agreement compare to the fair market rate for the same number of acres?
It's a little difficult to compare this land because a large portion of it is old airport runway mat and doesn't produce very good hay off of it. So you can't compare it to normal Iowa farm ground, hay ground.
Okay.
So it's a little difficult to do that. We again bid it out, and actually this tenant's been excellent to work with, and they were very excited that he bid again.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
This is a time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the disposition of city-owned property located at 949 South Sheridan. I received no objections on this item.
Go ahead, Jody, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. John and Barbara Saffel offered the city $250 for a vacant lot at 949 South Sheridan, and they want to use the property for landscape improvements for their house next door. Staff recommends accepting their offer, and they will need to pay the cost of conveyance and any property taxes owed.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone that wants to address this item? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 239, 2017, accepting the offer and approving the sale of city-owned property located at 949 South Sheridan to John and Barbara Saffel for the sum of $250. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 239, 2017.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions for Jody? Seeing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jody.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Quiet Zone project. I received no objections on this item.
Good evening. This is Dwight Dolman, our city engineer. You have the floor, Dwight.
Thank you, Mayor. If the council recalls, this project was let back in July of 2017 and no bids were received. This project is being relet with a projected completion date of July 28th. This allows the contractors to be able to start in the early spring, and it should make the project a little more attractive for them. The project will complete the installation of the raised center medians on the remaining at-grade crossings at the intersection of the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad on the following intersections: Vine Street, Green Street, Kitterman Avenue, and Clay Street. The completed crossings are Iowa Avenue, Market Street, and McLean Street. The bids will be received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on December 13th, 2017 at 2 p.m. And we expect to make a report to the City Council at the following council meeting on December 19th, 2017. The Legacy's engineer's cost of opinion is $246,001.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone that wants to address this item? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 251, 2017, approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Quiet Zone project. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 251, 2017.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second. Thank you. Any questions for Dwight? Councilman Myers.
Yes. So Dwight, thanks to Legacy funding this, but due to the Department of Transportation, National or whoever, it's been a long time coming. So if the bid comes in and we accept it and so forth, and that work goes according to schedule, then we should have Quiet Zone effective sometime in July?
That would be the plan.
Okay, good, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Victor. So what were the particular, was it the fact that no bids were received that pushed the project back, or were there some additional setbacks regarding?
No, I think the project just wasn't bid at a very attractive time. All the contractors are busy, and by bidding it now, contractors are looking to start filling their backlog for the next construction season.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Just a question on this, Dwight, and it's probably self-explanatory, but just for the sake of making sure my notes are straight on this one. And that's we're reletting the project, and I'm assuming this includes the raised medians and the grade crossings. Are there any other elements that are added to that, or does that footprint stay essentially the same?
That footprint stays essentially the same.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Last call. Take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the disposition of city-owned property located at 1707 West 5th Street. I received no objections on this item.
Go ahead, Jody.
Thank you, Mayor. We accepted sealed bids until November 14th for the sale of 1707 West 5th Street. We received 4 bids, and the top 2 bids that we received were both for $1,000. So for the first time since I've been doing this, we had tie-breaking bids that had to be submitted. And the 2 top bidders submitted tie-breaking bids. The best one was from TWM, and it was in the overall bid amount of $2,010. So we recommend awarding them the property.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone that wants to address this item? Hearing none, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 252, 2017, accepting the bid and approving the disposal of city-owned property located at 1707 West 5th Street to TWM Incorporated in the amount of $2,010. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 252, 2017.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Jody? Seeing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jody.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on proposed ordinance number 3133, 2017, amending the Code of Ordinances by changing the zoning classification on certain property located at the corner of Harrison Street and West 2nd Street in the city of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Iowa, from C1 to I1. I received no objections on this item.
Good evening, Kevin. You have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is essentially a cleaning up of a formerly grandfathered situation where that the 2 prior signs that were on this property, billboards that were on this property, were of a wood frame nature, and they became decrepit and had to be replaced. And Because of that, we saw a complete removal of an action and another action coming into place. So that was considered to not be a grandfathered activity. There were a couple of variances that were granted, relief that was granted on in the Board of Adjustments on contingency for the action that's taking place tonight. In other words, were this rezoning not to occur, then those variances, of course, would not be the case. They were for a relief from a 25-foot setback from a front right-of-way. In these instances with billboards, any right-of-way would require a 25-foot setback, and we felt it most appropriate to move into that front 25-foot setback because of sight distance that we had on the road created not an unsafe situation. And of course, the rear setback and the side setbacks were a little closer to the rail. So for safety, this seemed to be most appropriate. And also a variance for the required aggregate signage size, because in our code, in our city code passed in 2015, the aggregate limit is 200 feet, but apparently the industry standard is for a single billboard, I should say, because one billboard will now be replacing formerly two. The industry standard is 300 square feet. So I think that's something that we may look at for recommendation in the future, but essentially that's what we're here for because billboards are not allowed in C1s, only in I1s and I2s.
This is a public hearing on this issue. Is there anyone that wants to address this item? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Ordinance number 3133, 2017, amending the Code of Ordinances by changing the zoning classification on certain property located at the corner of Harrison Street and West 2nd Street in the city of Ottumwa, Wabalo County, Iowa, from C1 to I1. Recommendation A, pass the first consideration of ordinance number 3133, 2017.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Kevin? Seeing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Recommendation B, waive the second and third considerations, pass and adopt ordinance number 3133, 2017.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second. Thank you. Okay. Take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Resolution number 246, 2017, approving the reallocation of $79,000 CIP bond proceeds from the local housing rehabilitation program to the derelict housing program. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 246, 2017.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Good evening, Bob. You have the
Good evening, Your
floor.
Honor. Thank you. Jody Gates has requested that we reallocate $79,000 from the local housing rehab program to the derelict housing program because of increased costs for the demolition of houses. These funds will assist in the cost of demolishing the derelict homes.
Any questions for Bob? Seeing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Resolution number 249, 2017, adopting the Ottumwa Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan for the City of Ottumwa. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 249, 2017.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. You're up again, Jody.
Okay, thank you. If you'll recall, August 22nd, a planner with Area 15, Chris Kukla, presented a bicycle and pedestrian plan to you. And the plan was a result of a number of meetings with city staff and Trails Committee folks. And Chris would like to see the city adopt that plan because he believes that it will make obtaining or the ability to obtain funding for some of the improvements easier. I talked to Larry Seals about it because I was kind of concerned about just adopting a plan that he would, in essence, have to implement. And he acknowledged that it was a good plan. It was all funding dependent. You know, we could only do parts of the plan as we obtained funding. And that as we meet every year to discuss this plan and see if we want to make any changes that would be made to it would have to come back to the council so that you could adopt an updated plan.
Okay. Any other questions for Jody?
I'll just make a comment, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
I think that this is one of those occasions where, knowing that we'll have to come back and revisit this as we move along, this is just one of those points where we need to say that this is a good area to start making forward strides. I know some of this might be a reiteration from the last time that we spoke about this, but this is a great step forward for the city of Ottumwa, assuming that we can get everything in place down the road. So I'm all in favor of this.
Your Honor, I'd comment and echo the sentiments of Councilman Rowe. This is something that we see other communities around us having, and it's an attraction for tourism, and people simply in the community enjoy bike trails and biking. And I know I'm a little biased because I do the same thing. Obviously, it doesn't show, but I do, and I enjoy our trails very much. One quick question, though. Is this going to be included, or should this be included in our comp plan when we get to that point?
It was our intention to have it included in the comprehensive plan.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just one question on this, Jody. Going back to some of the staff meetings, remember we had at Area 15, one of the items I recall, there were various options in terms of what sidewalks may be chosen. It looks like from this first map, if I'm reading this correctly, that's essentially North Court.
I don't have that map in front of me, but
It's kind of difficult to read. I just take that back from that. That was a focal point of the discussion. When
we
had
talked
the
about
meeting.
the North Court Street corridor in
Sure.
detail.
And I think that's a good idea. Not that it's my decision to make whether that's good, bad, or indifferent. But I do remember one of the elements of the conversation was, and I wonder if there's a protocol for this, and that is when we are overlaying streets, as an example, whether it be concrete or asphalt, that there, remember Chris at that meeting mentioned there be some sort of communication symmetry between the work that's going on with Public Works and then the sidewalk installations. I also believe these are 8-foot sidewalks. These are going to be the more, let's just say, walking, hiking friendly sidewalks. Is there a protocol or a process that we would go through where there's communication between, say, your office and Public Works when new streets are being put in?
Or Larry Sills. I mean, I think he
Right.
would, one of the great things about having him on the committee was that we would have communication almost instantly about any sort of projects that would be, coming up in a year or 2 or 5,
Right.
and allow the committee to change areas of focus if we need to, because a street or sidewalk improvements was going to occur on Mary Street or on Milner Street instead of North Court.
So as I recall, Mayor, what and Jody's picked up on this, the conversation we had, not that that's cast in stone, but there would try and be some communication between those departments. And
Yes.
it is very, obviously very wise to have Larry Seals as a member of that committee. You and I sit on that as well, to offer some advice and consent about where those sidewalks might be. But I just wanted to point that out. That'll be obviously subject staff recommendation, and then would need to be memorialized by council. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. All right. Very good. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jody.
Ordinance number 3132, 2017, amending the Code of Ordinances by changing the zoning classification on property located at 1116 Charles Avenue from R1 to R3. Recommendation, pass the third consideration, pass and adopt ordinance number 3132, 2017.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendations presented.
Second.
Thank you. Evan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to take this opportunity at our third reading to go ahead and reiterate what the 3 conditions on the planning floor concerning the rezoning. And the first one was that the development shows substantive progress by May 1st, 2019, or the developer owner must return to the Planning and Zoning Commission to ask for an extension. Number 2, that a balance of 1-story and 2-story units be built as proposed by the developer with illustrations at the October 2nd Planning and Zoning Committee meeting. And number 3, that these conditions run with the property and pass to all successors and assigns, and any change of said development plan as presented would need the approval of the Plan and Zoning Commission. prior to returning to the council floor. I would entertain any questions any members may have.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, let's take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Kevin.
Ordinance number 3134, 2017, adopting and enacting a new code for the city of Ottumwa, Iowa, providing for the repeal of certain ordinances not included therein, providing a penalty for the violation thereof, providing for the manner of amending such code, and providing when such code and this ordinance shall become effective. Recommendation A, pass the first consideration of ordinance number 3134, 2017.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay.
Mr.
Amanda,
Mayor.
you gonna make any comments, or Andy?
I'll
Okay.
leave this one just to reiterate again, and unfortunately, we're going to ask Amanda here to multitask here in just a little bit regarding the code. As we said, this was an item that was reviewed by council. First of all, going back to Muni Code, as my memory serves me correctly, they were hired in early 2016. That process then later began that summer, and council made corrections and augmentations to that code. We received them back. Those were to be turned in today for council members and staff to make questions, comments, raise concerns, and quite frankly, in some instances, just outright misspellings. The issue at hand, it seems to me, based on discussions we've had on a staff level, is this. We have a current code as it exists right now, and I don't know how many years, I think decades, that code is. That is the code we have in the books right now. If council, and I would ask the city attorney to correct me on this, if council does decide to follow staff recommendation, memorialize it, and pass it this night, this essentially would be the new code, assuming waiving the additional readings. In addition to that, though, it is a fair statement to say that there does need to be some corrections that need to be set forth. What the comments that I had from staff, and this is both visiting with Amanda and Joni, and I'll bounce past to her in just a moment, is just this. Council members need to give us, obviously, lists of those areas that need to be corrected. As an example, the differentiation between one-way streets and two-way streets, some of the misspellings. But it seemed to make more sense from staff's perspective to put those together in a bundle, or maybe bundles plural, and then send those to Muni Code so they're adopted at once. You wouldn't want to have a council member that would develop his or her own little private list, and council doesn't get to say grace over that, for lack of a better term. That was somewhat of our thinking, and that remains the same. It does create, obviously, a sense of limbo insofar as that there still needs to be corrections to this code. And we're asking council to continue to gather those up. I had some questions myself. Amanda answered all of those. I don't have any more. But at this point, Mayor, I would ask that Joni Keith, city attorney, to comment and back clean up on what I just said in terms of the code we have in the books and what we're asking council to do this evening.
What we've done in the last year is just look at some legal issues, some constitutional issues, some issues that deal with state code issues. Instead of putting the entire, our code mimics some of the state law, and instead of repeating it, we've made reference to it. So we've tried to make some, we've tried to condense the code a little bit, although when it came back, it's pretty thick still. But the substantive changes that we want to start making deal with streets, for instance, and a number of other offenses, nuisances. There's different things we'd like to start working on, but we wanted to get this back in place. And so this will be the start of the changes we're going to be making in the future. So we really didn't concentrate on substantive issues at this point in time because we wanted to deal with the legal review and constitutionality issues and state code issues. So that's what we've done. And the next step will be reviewing it chapter by chapter and trying to make more substantive changes that we'll be bringing to you piecemeal, instead of if we try to encompass everything in this code, it'd be very difficult for you to review it and for the public to make comment. So this is the direction we suggest that you go with, and then we'll be back with quite a few changes in the next several months.
Okay, we have several people who want to comment. Victor, let's start down there.
Well, so in waiving the second and third considerations, we're not saying that that we're not going to have an opportunity to review those types of changes that you're talking about that are beyond the legal ones. We're going to have an opportunity to review those in the upcoming days.
Exactly. Substantive changes will go before council, and you can elect, you can still elect to waive some additional readings if you'd like, but the goal is to allow public input on specific substantive changes to the code. So those will be done specifically.
Thank you.
Mark?
I have.
Whoops. Skip, let's go right down the row here.
Okay, I agree with everything that's been said here, with the exception of maybe if you ask the newer council members who have not dealt with issues in the code, it's going to be very difficult for them to decipher what they think the changes may need to be. I mean, they may have some. I think it should be the department heads, for instance, Public Works, Larry Seal's staff, Jody on her staff on the issues that deals with her department, to go through there, because she knows what needs to be changed. And I'm not taking anything away from the newer council people. I happen to be an old person here that has dealt with this stuff for years, and I'm happy to see the code being revised because I've talked about it for years. I can go through the streets part of the code and I can pick out a ton of stuff, and I already have, that need to be incorporated in the code. It kind of puts these young guys at a disadvantage. I'm not saying they won't come up with things, because they will. They're sharp guys. But I just think the department heads need to be highly involved in this.
Oh, they will be.
Okay.
These proposed changes that are going to be coming your way will be recommended by staff. So it's got to be vetted by Jody, by Larry Seals, by Tom McAndrew.
Okay, great.
All of our department heads for sure.
Mr. Mayor, just one quick question, if I might add. I believe, and correct me if I'm mistaken, but I know I was given one. Weren't the department heads also given this document to look through as well?
Yes.
That's what I
Yes,
thought. Because
back
I can specifically remember Gene Ratchey as an example, and Larry Seals is two of them. But that, Councilman Stevens raises a good point. We would do that again.
Thank you.
Mark? Or Matt, excuse me.
Go first. I just got a quick question. I'm just a little confused on this, Johnny. I do applaud the recodification process. That's amazing. It's sure going to condense it and clear up some constitutional issues, especially. But my question is, I've seen the new code, and there are some substantive issues there that definitely need to be changed. For instance, one-way streets to two-way streets. My question has to deal with, if we adopt this code with those substantive changes not made yet, and something legal would happen to where someone would be driving down the wrong way side of the street, and a court judge would have to determine whether our code would back that up, or the street marking color would be the determination of that case. Are we legally liable if we put a code out there that is not correct to our knowledge, and then expect our folks to go by that? And the second question, I know that's the first question, but the second question, I guess I have two, is I was wondering why we didn't take our time and, like you said, have the department heads and council go through it over time and get a collection of changes, or bring them to us one by one, either way. And then once we have it to where we think it's pretty darn close, and at that point adopt the code. Why are we adopting this now and then going back and making changes, rather than taking the time to get it all as correct as we can?
Because the first step was the legal review.
Okay.
And so you got to remember, this city code of ordinances is an evolving document, and it changes with time. It changes with court cases. It changes with state law. So it's an evolving document. We're going to be, and when you look during the past year, we've had a number of ordinance changes that have taken place. It was felt at the time we did this initial legal review as if we tried to change it substantively across the board, it would be very difficult to get all of that communicated. So there could be a really fair public input by the citizens to be able to get their input if we had tried to throw it all together at once. So this is kind of the first step that we decided to proceed on.
And yeah, and I think that's a good idea, and I don't have any issue with that at all. I was just wondering, we passed an ordinance for streets years ago, and did they just take the current code, make the legal review changes and deletions, and then just keep whatever we has as of now? Because I'm kind of curious to why that code is still one-way streets.
Yes.
There. So it's still in our code as one-way streets. So we're
It
still,
is.
That would be, okay, thank you.
And we properly signed it, but we do need to get that changed. There's quite a few changes that need to be made. That's the
Okay.
next step.
All right, thank you.
Mark?
I think Councilman Dalby asked pretty much everything that I was going to ask.
Councilman Myers?
The rest of them have also asked the questions, and it's been a good discussion. And I know earlier in the week, Amanda was very helpful in trying to set it up the way Joni just has. So it seems a little confusing, but I think in the long run, we understand it for the most part.
So just to be clear, there will be no changes without it coming back to the council, and we'll all have a chance to review it with the department heads and certainly your review legally and any changes that the state requires.
Okay.
Joni, I have one real quick follow-up question. Sorry to be kind of a pain. It occurs to me, and I thought about this too, that muni code's no newcomer to the game of changing municipal codes and recodification. So they've obviously done this process with other cities in the past, exactly like we're doing without the substantive changes coming as one package.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I just ask a question for clarification? Because again, the staff's recommendation, as Councilman Myers just mentioned, is to pass this. But again, staff will be flexible. But one of the items I just came into my mind was council recently approved and adopted the International Property Maintenance Code. And that International Property Maintenance Code is to take form then after the first year in January. If council were to decide, and maybe this is just a substantive discussion or perhaps not, if council were to decide, it appears, so I don't want to upset the apple cart, that the council is moving in the direction of following staff's recommendation. Let's just say for the sake of discussions, they did not. Now, the International Property Maintenance Code has been passed. That would take effect after the first year. Irrespective of how council would vote on that particular issue, let's just say that council voted not to. They said, we want to keep the current code that we're on. Would the International Property Maintenance Code still take effect? We know it would take effect if council follows the staff recommendation. But I was just curious, if council were to say, no, we quite frankly want to make some more corrections to this, would the International Property Maintenance Code still take effect in January?
It should still take
That's
effect.
what I thought. I just had a
January.
question. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah. Good clarification, though. Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, the motion is to pass the first consideration, made and seconded. Take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Recommendation B, waive the second and third considerations, pass and adopt ordinance number 3134, 2017.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
We always give citizens a chance to comment on anything of city import. So if there's anybody that wants to talk about any issue, now's the time to do that. Seeing none, I would make a comment. Oh, excuse me. I didn't see you wave. Step up to the microphone, give us your name.
Hi, I'm Andrea Songer Dudley. I've talked to quite a few of you before. Just a thought about the primary election thing. I've talked to a lot of people for a long time about getting out to vote. Are you going to go vote today? Different things like that. And a lot of people, by and large, the older that they are, they're not informed. I don't know anything about the candidates. Why should I vote? And even if you're a person who is trying to find this information, if you miss it when it's aired live, you have to then try and search for it. And if you don't know to look for League of Women Voters, you're going to have issues coming up with information. So I think, and I talked to a lot of people about this specific issue recently, and they just say having more access to information would be incredibly useful, and that more people would be likely to participate, not necessarily in a primary, but just in the election in general. So why not take the money that we use on primary elections and instead put it into something that would help voters be more informed, like a mass flyer or a mass mailer. Candidates can do a brief bio on themselves that's verified by fact check in some way, shape, or form, and then have department heads make a list of upcoming issues, as well as having just citizens submit questions, and those can be pared down by precinct chairs of both parties or independent or what have you. And they can pare down that list. All the candidates have opportunity to answer that. You can provide access to that online as well as in print for those who do not have online access. It's just a thought. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your comments. Two other comments just for the council. I think if you haven't heard, we have some sad news that Abby Kissling lost her battle with cancer, and a young lady that was really doing a lot of great work for our city. Her funeral will be Friday morning in Keosauqua, 11 o'clock. And we're all prayers with the family and her relatives who are grieving at this point. Secondly, and this may be more of a personal thing than I was taken when I saw this morning's Ottumwa Courier and got the front page story about the uncertainty forces closure of Papa John's. And I just want the public to know that this council has been on record doing whatever we can to support small local businesses. As Paul Harvey used to say, that the rest of the story has not been told. And I am disappointed that we didn't have a contact from the Courier. To my knowledge, nobody on our staff was contacted to give our position and be able to respond to that. So that's my concern, that for future reference, that if there's a questionable story, it should be checked out with our city administrator, our city attorney, city clerk. And I think it really gives a bad picture to the city to say that we would not accommodate a business. We have done that over and over. I know personally that Administrator Morris had, I think, 3, 4, maybe even 5 visits with the owner. I know Larry Seals had contact with him. I had contact with him. Several of the council had contact at a public meeting with him. So I feel it's an unfair representation. And I think this is the kind of thing that hurts a city when you're trying to recruit and do business work. So I just wanted to make that statement as your mayor, and I hope if you have a chance, you'll support this. I did also talk to the owner of the building and found out that there were other issues that did not get into the newspaper. So again, I think it was just not a complete story. So enough being said. In the future, I hope the Courier will contact us and get the rest of the story.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm glad you brought that up, and you've done a good job with it. And it's my belief, and I'm 99.9% sure of this, they were told that this project would not impact their driveways, either one of them.
That's correct.
They were given maps of this project, so there was definitely contact made, and it's a sad situation, but we don't like to see any business close. But regardless, this is what happened. But the story in the Courier just wasn't the right story.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for the good of the city? Not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you and good night. It's 7:18.
Connie?